will do. Come on in. We'll hold off for a second here, all right? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll start off with the roll call of members.
Mickey Kitty. John Brown.
Here.
Frank Myers.
Here.
George Lana.
Here.
Ed Luttrell.
Here.
Jamie Bauman. Here. Frank Roth.
Here.
Chairman, we had a quorum.
Great. Item 3, move approval of the agenda for the October 14, 2013 meeting.
Before we take the motion, I'd like to make a comment in the discussion. Given the depth of the list of action items we have tonight, I'm wondering if we could discuss tabling the old business and new business for a work session at a later time.
Is that a motion?
Yeah. I could make it a motion if there's no discussion.
I put on the commission committees on old business to address what the mayor was referring to at our last meeting. If nothing else, if we could schedule a special work session to discuss this.
That was my thinking.
Okay. And also, you may have noticed that the minutes are not in the packet.
Right.
I have not finished those. So we will need to table that as well.
Then I will make a motion to table the old business and new business for tonight's agenda to convert that to a work session at a date to be set.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a second from Ed. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Item 4, I'm sorry, we don't have the minutes. Right, so that'll be the next one. So let's go straight into commission business. First is action item HPCA-13-103-1014A, a request for the rehabilitation of the August Abishon House, 467 Washington Street, circa 1799. Items included in the request are window replacement, back porch removal, replacement of basement doors, roof replacement, and shutters. Would the applicant like to speak?
I'm going to do the front porch, and then Tim's going to take care of the rest.
Okay.
I think you have, yeah, you've got some little packets there too. I'm sorry? Well, yeah, the porch facing the river.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be the east.
Big porch. Okay. The footings, I had Brenda come up and check that out, and we've already had the footings poured. They're 12 inches in diameter and 30 inches below grade. The columns are there's 5 columns, and we're going to be able to save 4 of them, 4 of the original columns. They're made out of cedar, and we're going to replace it with cedar.
Is
The-
that,
Yeah.
Yes, that's where the.
Yeah. The porch floor, the band boards, you know, the columns have notches in them, so we're going by those, for what size to make the floor joists, which are going to be, the floor joists are going to be 2x8s, white oak. All the structural, everything else besides the columns are going to be white oak. The rest of the floor joists will be 2x6s. The railings will be 1x3s, white oak. The beam that sits on top of the columns is a 4x6, and we had that was still there, but it was just really eaten up bad by termites. 4x6 white oak, and that's what it'll be replaced with. The floor is, we're going to put down 1x3 1/4 tongue groove fir. I've had really good luck with fir. You know, it'll be primed before we put it down, and then painted after that. But I've had good luck with fir, tight grain. The joists will be on 16-inch centers. Stairs are going to be white oak treads and white oak stair horses, or stringers. That's about it on the porch. We're going to have to replace a couple of some portions of the sill plate on the house, which is 10 inches wide and 7 inches tall. That'll also be white oak. You know, and all this will be sawmill sawn lumber, newer lumber. Hopefully, he thought he had some stuff that has been sitting for like a year. So that's pretty well it on the porch. We were real happy to find we thought we might have had a chance to save those columns. They were actually, on the bottom, they were open for like the last 5 feet, and they looked pretty good. The bottoms were rotted, so I actually had to cut off a little bit of that. So we're going to have little stone. They were sitting on rocks, is what, you know, two rocks in the ground. That was it. That was it on the footings or whatever. So we're going to cut a little bit of the bottom off, whatever that's rotted. The most I think I had to cut off is like 6 inches. So there'll be stone laid on top of concrete. None of the concrete's going to show.
Okay, I think we have this set up as 9 different action items. So I guess the first item we have is,
do you want to take them
I think.
one at a time like that?
Do you want to do it that way, or it's up to you guys, everyone?
I would think so.
Yeah, if that's the way it's set up.
So is there a motion on item 1, which is rebuilding the porch on the east facade?
I move to accept the presentation as shown.
Motion, is there a second?
I second.
Second by Jamie. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, item 1 carries.
All right, good evening. I've been retained by Mr. Tim Conley to do the roof replacement at the Abishan house. What that's going to involve is we're going to initially remove the existing tin, and then we will retain the wooden purlins that are existing, and we will install a 1/2-inch CD grade plywood over those existing purlins. And then we will install a continuous ventilation product, which is something new to the industry, at least in this area, but it is an approved method by the Cedar Shake and Bureau out of Canada. I don't know if you have a detail on that, but I can share that information with you. These shingles are going to be a #1 blue label, Western red cedar shingle. They'll be 16 inches in length. The exposure on the shingles will be 5 inches. The fasteners that we will use will be, I opted to go with the 1.25 inch stainless steel nails in lieu of the hot dip because they seem to perform better with the cedar material, especially the tannic acids in the cedar. Also, it's actually a ring shank nail, which gives you better holding power. And it's a 5D nail, and it's 1.25 inches thick, which will allow you to penetrate in 3/4 inch into the substrate, but not protrude into the attic space below. Also, we're going to install, along with that continuous ventilation system, is a ridge vent system. And all that involves is basically another venting material that goes over the peak of the roof and extends down about, well, let me give you this here. Extends down about 3 inches, and then these are your caps that are implied. Prevailing wind this way, they'd be applied this way in 5-inch exposures. This is a sample of the shingles that we're planning on using, and that's your Western red cedar. And they're 100% edge grade, 100% heartwood, no defects, and minimum of 3 inches in diameter. The bottom course of the shingles are going to be a double course at the very bottom where the gutter is for extra protection. And then they will extend over the edges of the building along the rakes on the overhangs 2 inches. Also, the fascia boards will be replaced, and we're looking at using possibly a poplar there. If firs available, we could use that, but poplar seems to do real well with as far as taking paint, and it actually does better than cedar. But that's up to the client. But one way or the other, we are going to replace the fascia boards along the rakes there in order to install the roof. The flashing material is going to be going to match the existing flashing, which is, I believe, is galvanized right now. And also, there's going to be a flashing at the transition of the roof where it goes from a low pitch to a steeper pitch. There'll be a continuous flashing along that, and also there will be another double course. Once you pass that transition, you need to install another double course of shingles, and then start off with your 5-inch exposure from them. Basically, what you're doing is just starting over again. But that's a detail that's recommended in the manual here, in which I can pass this along. I have that flagged. All those details are flagged there. So,
Jim, it's not in the purview of this commission, but I may have missed it when I was shuffling papers when you started the presentation. Is that root structure truss and pearl?
correct.
Okay, just curious.
And also, I would recommend adding a collar brace at the top, at the peak there, to stiffen up the peak. I mean, looking at the building and on an initial cursory inspection, I noticed that the building seemed to be relatively sound for its age, and it was built to last, and it has. So it's not as bad as it looks.
Looking better every day.
Yeah, they're going to make it look real good. I think we got a good team together. Does anyone have any
Is there cedar shake
questions?
under the existing roof now? Is there cedar shake under?
No, there's not. There's evidence that was the cedar shake roof on that at one time, because you could see where the nails had protrude through the purlin, the horizontal boards there.
The old sheeting concrete.
the old sheen, we're going to leave that intact, but we're also going to add a sheet of this the CD grade plywood. We opted out, not using that oriented straight board because I still believe that plywood is a better product and gives you more rigidity. And then the flatter the surface, the better the roof.
So this will add considerably more weight to the roof, just out of curiosity, right?
It'll add some. You take the tin off. The shingles aren't really that heavy, but there's going to be some additional bracing done in there, and I know that we're going to expose the tail of the rafters, and there's going to probably have to be some additional bracing on those because those are not sufficient size to carry. Mark and I, once we open that up, we may have to address that by maybe increasing the size of those in order to carry the loads.
It's quite a bit.
Okay, is there any discussion or motion? This would be item number 7, replace the roof with cedar shingles.
There's always questions on a roof like that, but you've got people working on it I have confidence in.
Thank you.
Yes,
I'd like to make a motion to replace the roof with cedar shingles as described by Jim.
Okay, with the motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, with a second by Ed. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries for item number 7.
Thank you. You can keep those shingles, but I need to have that roof back.
Build a better.
I left that to Mr. Jones, and I think he got a copy of it. He put it to good use, so I can tell he's been paging through it.
He does.
Let's learn.
Hi.
Good evening, sir.
Hi.
So you're gonna do the rest, huh?
Should we just do these numerically, just one at a time, or? So item number 2 is the rebuild the porch on the west facade, which is currently enclosed. I think we all have drawings of this, I think.
And that actually should say, not rebuild, but to restore.
Restore, okay.
We're on item 2.
Are there any questions or discussion on that item?
Just one question, Tim. On the corner post there, have you exposed it enough to see whether the mortise goes all the way through?
I think I
The
know.
reason I ask is kind of silly, but on some of the houses in town, you get to the corner post, and that mortise goes clear through. And it's one indication, not a positive indication, but it's one indication that the porch went 4 sides. There's a lot of other things that would have to be done.
No, the corner post is on both sides is the same, and I think, yeah. I think the corner post takes this post and this post.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it goes. It was a 2-sided. It was, we have an early drawing of it.
Yeah.
It was a 2-sided
Well, I
porch.
don't want to take a lot of time, but I asked the question because I've seen it done both ways, and I just was curious.
I noticed that it was unusual in that it had this post, but of course it had to get the corner.
Well, it says that the railing and everything is still in there.
Yeah,
right? So-
it's unbelievably it's poorly constructed, that it's a shanty. That's the only place that it was. It was done relatively, recently, 80, so, and It was, it's really, really horrible. the way
You're
it's
referring
done.
to the enclosure itself.
Yeah, I took Brenda all through it, yeah.
And you'll learn more as you expose it, and it's kind of a hide and seek thing once you start taking the clapperboard off and see what's left in there.
Yeah, I took off enough to see that the 3 posts are there.
Three
yeah.
posts, right? Mhm. Yeah, you see the one on the corner. Yeah.
Is there a motion or something for item number 2?
I'll make a motion we approve item.
We have a motion from Frank. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Jamie. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, item number 2 is approved. There's item number 3. Replace the basement entry doors located under the eastern porch.
Now, the entry doors are, use modern nails, and they're simply tongue and groove boards, and that's going to be where my kitchen and my family room is, and the only other light is from a window that was knocked in earlier, about 100 years ago. They put a window on the north side, and it's a big, and it had 12 panes of glass in it, but it was rotten. And just, and the kids threw stones in it, and they boarded it up, and there was a remnant of it in the crushed timbers, but it didn't survive. And so the windows upstairs are 15 panes of glass, and then the door, and then 12 panes of glass, and then the door. And I'm stripping those, and those are immaculate, in immaculate condition, but they just have loads of paint on them. And I want to do the family room, the drawing room door where it has 12 panes, not the bedroom door that has 15, but I want to duplicate the drawing room door downstairs and in those 2 places so that we get some light in there.
Are the frames sufficiently solid that they can be retained?
Yes, I'm going to retain them.
Good.
And yes, and they keep people out, but they are pretty shabby, but okay, keep them.
Is there any discussion or motion on item number 3?
I'll move that we approve item number 3.
Second.
There's a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, item 3 carries. Item 4, replace the basement window located on the north facade.
And that, once again, that's just going to be a non-openable window with 12 panes of glass in it, and it's pretty big, yeah. It's right opposite the kitchen sink.
And this was not an original opening in the house, right?
No, it was done by Mrs. Del Commune.
Okay.
When she owned it, and she just stuck one of the old windows in it, and it's exactly the size of the windows, and one of the ones from upstairs went downstairs. Yeah, but so Actually, it's pretty nice. It's, you know, it doesn't, it's on a side that nobody sees, and you have to really go a ways to walk up on the property and look at it and see that there's a window there, but it'll be great for the kitchen.
I can entertain a motion to approve item 4, the basement window.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconds, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 4 carries. Go to item 5, replace the window on the west facade.
West facade.
Facing the
Street side.
academy.
Oh, no, the west facade is, are these one by one, all these windows?
That's what I thought too, is kind of,
Why aren't these lumped together? The west facade is the bathroom, and that's an original, well, close to an original. It was done very shortly after the house was built, and that was enclosed. And that had, well, the one frame is, they aren't repairable, but they have those sashes.
Is there a motion on that?
Motion to approve the request in the west windows.
All right, is there a second?
A second.
Second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 5 carries. Item 6, replace the 2 windows located on the south facade.
And that was done in 1930, and they are thoroughly rotten.
they're gone.
Yeah, and the framework outside is thoroughly rotten. But clearly they are the same dimensions as that other windows, and I'll put 12 over 12 and 12 over 12 in it.
So all
Are
the
there any
windows are
original
12 over
frames left?
Yes, in my bedroom.
Okay.
And then,
The reason I asked that, Tim, is that everything I've seen here, I think is great. I think I approve of it. But what you have there is a museum-quality house, except that there's no market for museums right now.
yeah, yeah.
So if the frame is left in, if anybody wants to bring up the older argument, casement versus the other window, why then,
Well,
they can look.
The frames, we're using the frames with the man who is, the company that's doing they are taking the frames, even if they're rotten, and being sure that they do the right size window. And I place great importance on doing exactly what's there. And but there's nothing to work with, you
Yeah,
know.
on the south side, but
And-
there are
and
some there that,
The west side too.
okay, good.
Because you have, I should have brought them in. You have 8 of the 12 panes in one and none of them in the other. And you have all the holes that do the 12 over 12.
Yeah.
But you just have the framework. You know, the kids had a field day with that. And inside that boarded up part is just what I said. Just the one is completely gone, and the whole, and the framework is there, and then the little holes where the 12 over 12 go in, and then it's bowed out and 7 or 8 of them is in, of the framework is, and the little mullions are in there, but they can't be used.
Well, I was more referring to the main frame that's set back in the stone.
It's not in stone, it's in logs.
Yeah.
Or in log.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, are any of those going to be remaining?
well, all of them will remain.
Good.
Yeah.
That was my question.
Oh, yeah, these are just the exterior
Sections.
decorative. The-
Yeah.
The, and they would, only a miracle would, they would have remained after this much time, as fragile as they are.
So all the windows are 12 over 12, and
Yeah.
that's the purpose for the kitchen window being 12 over 12?
Yeah, yeah, just so there's unity.
Okay, I vote to, or would like to know, what am I saying?
Move.
Move, to replace the 2 windows located on the south facade.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second from George, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, item 6 carries. We already approved item 7. So all that leaves us now is item 8 and 9. Number 8, replace the shutters on all of the windows in the building.
They, do you have that?
Yes, we
Yeah.
have that. Is there any discussion on
Yeah.
that?
Well, that's the most simple that the finest company in America does this, and they have, that's what they recommend.
Is there an indication that there were shutters there?
Oh, my
Are
God,
there
yes.
pinholes there? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, my God. Every house like that has shutters. But they are the remnants of actually, three of the, I'm really bad today. I've had a long day, but 3 of the hinges, the hinge plates, minus the functional part, but the hinge plate itself is all there on all of them.
See it.
You know, yeah.
I
But
move to
somebody ripped
replace,
them off, yeah.
Yes. good.
I move to replace the shutters on all the windows.
Okay,
Second.
we have a second from Frank. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item number 8 carries. And final item number 9, remove the existing wooden clapboard siding and replace with wood clapboard siding. So basically just taking off the wooden siding that's there and putting wooden siding back on.
It doesn't even need to be an action item, does it?
No.
That's
No,
maintenance.
Do we need a motion anyway, or?
Sure.
Yeah, let's make a
Although it's really not an action item because it's a maintenance, I would still, for the record, move to approve replacing the existing wooden clapboards with new clapboard siding. Matching.
Motion. Is there a second? We have a second from George. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, everything's approved.
Thank you.
Good, Tim, go to work.
Thanks a lot for getting that part of it beautified.
Thanks for taking the job on, Jim. That's one that was a lot, otherwise.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to getting a presentation on that house.
Yes.
Yeah,
Can I come see it?
yeah, you can see it anytime you want. If I asked about that house and was turned down when I owned the academy, and I've been anxious, to say the least. And while my condition isn't really good, if I do one more thing, it will be to save that house.
Yes.
You're doing a great job.
And we appreciate it. We do.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Tim.
Okay, next up is application HPCA 13-1014B, 174 South 2nd Street, and it's to demolish a wooden shed of undetermined age. Is the applicant here on that, or
Do you not see the,
do we need the applicant to go over this one, or?
I don't.
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so.
That's pretty cut and
This
dry.
was easy, yeah.
So is there a discussion or a motion on this?
I'd like to entertain a motion to go ahead and demolish the shed.
I'll second.
We have a motion to
174.
demolish from George, we have a second from Frank. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The shed shall be demolished. Next, HPCA number 13-1014C, a request to replace 2 exterior entryway doors in the house located at 456 LaPorte Street, circa 1920. Is the applicant here on that?
No.
Is this one we can do without the applicant, or?
I think so.
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Any discussion or a motion on that?
I don't think it's the door's been replaced 3 or 4 times already.
The only thing I would do in the approval, I would stipulate that they'll be the same size
Door opening, yeah.
Yeah.
Same size as,
as the
Existing.
existing one,
Yeah.
so that they
Yeah, they
don't
don't
rip
change
something
it.
out, make a mess.
So we'd like to make a motion then.
I'll make a motion, we approve the replacement of the doors
With wooden 6-panel doors.
With the stipulation.
with the stipulation that the doors be the same size.
Is there a second?
I second
We
it.
have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that item is approved. We now move on to HPCA-13-1014D, a request to replace the roof and siding on the garage located at 105 North 2nd Street. Is the applicant here on that? Do we need the applicant in this, or can we go on without?
I just talked to him this afternoon.
I don't see any problem discussing it without applicant.
I don't know, he's,
I don't,
Is there a motion then, or discussion?
replacing shingles.
It looks pretty routine.
Yeah.
Looks routine to me too, so rather than slip them down, why don't we go ahead and vote on it?
Yes.
Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Okay. Motion by Ed, second by Frank. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That item carries. We now move on to HPCA 13-1014E, a request to construct a 16 by 20 accessory building in the rear yard of 120 North 6th Street of undetermined age. Is the applicant here for that?
I'm standing in for my husband.
No problem with that.
He is under the weather, so here I am.
No problem.
You are.
I made him give me his drawings because I have really, I mean, I know it's going to be something to keep the grandkids' bikes in and things like that. It's not a,
but as Brenda said, she's going to help me out with this.
So this is actually back in the alley behind.
Right, yeah.
Is there an alley there now?
It's not all the way through, it just stops. Yeah.
And there are, it's like garage alley.
Yeah, I look out on it.
Yeah, that's all it's down at, yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, I mean, our job is to approve a construction of the thing. And the issues here are planning and zoning, really. It's an R1 area.
I agree.
That building is pushing the limits for an R1. The drawing shows it pretty close to the property lines. That's a setback thing, which again is
He meets the
planning and
setbacks.
zoning. And I think it should go through planning and zoning and get their approval before we act on it.
It meets all of the zoning requirements.
What's that?
It meets all of the zoning requirements.
But if they approved it,
It doesn't have to go to the Planning and Zoning Commission. It meets all of the
It
requirements.
meets all the setbacks and all the others.
yeah, to build that bigger a building in an R1 residential area.
It's a rather large backyard.
Oh, yeah.
It's as big as a house.
And there are no other sheds on that property at the moment.
No.
It is a garage, right?
Yeah, I guess you could call it that, or a shed, really. I mean, I don't know if if a car will ever be parked in it. The riding lawnmower, bicycles, things like that. Well, I drove down the alley because I couldn't figure out what it was, and I just, from our standpoint, you can't see it. And
Yeah, that's true. I mean, our garage from the street side, our garage is there, and
Frank has all the trees,
Yeah.
you know,
I'm the
you
one
really
who can
can't see down
technically
the
see it,
alley.
and It's no problem from where I am. so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't see, I mean, how it disrupts the historic
The
nature.
staff
of the town.
recommendation is it goes on the upper lot that he suggests. There's 2 lots.
You're on the wrong
You're on the
one.
wrong one.
Aren't we building a garage where?
There's 2 garages.
Yeah, this is on
Do you
6th.
want to look at the 120 North 6th Street?
I'm on the wrong
There you go.
garage.
Yeah, get to the 6th.
6th Street, I have no problem.
1014. Because there's a garage, the garage in the picture looks pretty big too.
Does it?
Well, I mean, this garage here, where is that in?
Oh, that's ours.
That's your garage, and that's close to where you want? Oh,
It's, yeah, it's gonna
so
be
you're
like,
gonna have 2 garages?
yeah, because we own both houses. I mean,
Just
yeah,
garage.
but our daughter's in that house there,
Uh-huh.
so.
Yeah, if that was allowed back when it was built, it looks pretty new to me.
So do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Motion approved. Do we have a second?
Second.
George seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're free to build the
Thank you
garage.
so much. Put Sam to work.
There you go.
It's easier to tell them that.
Yeah.
Okay. Up to bat next is HPCA 13-1014F, a request to construct a wooden split rail fence around areas of the properties located at 260 North 4th Street, circa 1930 to 1945, 317 Washington Street, and 349 Washington Street, which is circa 1870. We have the applicant, and tell us about your plan here.
Happy Columbus Day.
Thank you. Same to you.
Actually, it's not a split rail fence. It's a round cedar native Missouri fence.
Okay.
I have a example of a railing here in the back hall I'd be happy to bring up to you, but I would hope you all would understand what a...
I think Martin's grabbing it anyway. Looks like. Or maybe not.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. All right, so now we can all visualize what it looks like. There we go.
What is the Scottish games?
Oh, yeah, what's that, the terror?
Muscles.
Very impressive
Thank you.
thing. All right.
I'd make a motion we approve.
Yeah.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Jan. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries.
Thank you.
Now we move on to HPCA 13-0415B, a request to construct a 40 by 60 foot garage barn in the rear yard of 349 Washington Street circa 1870, which was tabled from the May 20th, 2013 meeting.
That
And
is
the comments I was making on the mistaken identification of this were applied to this. I am concerned that we building that big a structure, particularly a vinyl clad structure in a, I think it's an R1 area, isn't it? Because right now, I'm a victim of that type of reading of the boards. I live next door to a big shed.
There's an
That was
R2.
built in spite of the fact that it was in an R1 area. It was itself. Okay, what were you saying?
Is it R2?
It's R2.
R2?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, this is the property that we asked to have staked off the dimensions.
Which I did stake off.
Right,
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
And
Met
I-
more than one of the members who came out and saw it, and
I-
there's a lot of field around the building, and not to take the words out of Brenda Sloss's mouth, but my indication from her is it looks like a place where a nice big old barn would sit. And it's just going to be a board and batten building. The cupola is sitting on my existing garage at my home, and I've got some antique lightning rods that I want to put on top, and I wish for it to blend as best it can into the community. It's not some little metal dirt floor tin whistle.
Hey, before we go any further, I don't know where we're at here. The A proposal, that's not available anymore, right?
That's incorrect.
Well, I got the number of the homeowner that bought the property. And I just went by tonight to see if it was still available. And, I've got his phone number here. He said he's purchased the property, so I presume the A is not available no more.
I'm not,
You don't know that.
I'm not aware of that.
Okay, but it has been purchased, property A. I mean, I swung by there tonight before I came here, and this young man told me that he purchased it. He's got a contract set up. He's made a down payment on it.
So the trailer did.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know if Mr. Meyer knows, but as of tonight, he should know. 'Cause
That's 265.
yeah, he purchased that. It's the homeowner right adjacent to it.
He purchased it
Did he
or
purchase it all or the half?
simply made a contract?
He's purchased it. I stopped by and asked him, he started
He
giving the details.
closed on the property? Does he have an occupancy permit for the property?
I didn't go through any of that. Well, I don't think he needs an occupancy permit. I just know that he said he's purchased it. So that leaves that option out.
Well, that's fine.
Right.
I've
Right.
got a lot of property back there and as...
Right. So now we're just talking about B, right?
Correct.
Okay.
It makes no difference to me, Plan A, Plan B.
Okay.
Um,
Now B looks like it's squeezed in there pretty tight. And this building's bigger than any house in the block. This is a big building.
Well, and I remember you expressing the last time you spoke that this is bigger than your house and your house is bigger than my house and...
No, I didn't say anything like that. I said when you build a building on a block in a historical district that's bigger than any house, you're not trying to blend in. You're building a big metal vinyl-sided building. It really stands out. That's all I meant. I don't care how big it is or anything. I just know that it's a big structure,
It's a board and batten style building.
40 by 60. That's big.
They have a concrete floor.
Yes.
What was the question?
Concrete floor.
And when it's staked and you go out and stand in the field, it just doesn't look as big as the numbers you speak of.
Well, the B proposal where if you build it, it's got to be, it's big. I mean, I don't know if it's not our job to talk about the property lines, but it's like it's pushing it,
It meets all the setback guidelines, and the woman who owns the home in front of it has given me her blessing. I went and asked her permission, which I'm not required to, but I did.
Oh, so you do own the property now? What
Absolutely.
the B proposal is, okay.
Yes. And I'd like to go on the record by saying, not only have I come to this commission for myself, but I've also been to this commission on the behalf of 2 other residents on my street.
I'd like to go back to the position we had on the previous garage, that as far as this commission is concerned, as long as the building materials and general appearance meet the guidelines, that's our only issue.
Yeah.
Size is a P and Z issue.
That and the setbacks and all
Right.
that.
It's not our
It's
issue.
not ours. And you say board and batten, wood board,
Vinyl.
vinyl.
I'm looking for something sustainable. I have 2 other outbuildings on my property that are board and batten, so I would like to match what I have now, so it all blends.
They have
and-
vinyl also.
They're wood,
Yeah.
but that's high maintenance. I would hope, once this project's completed, everybody's going to drive by and say, wow.
Yeah, I'm sure they will, and that's my problem. It's big.
Not, wow, it's big, but
It's just
wow.
oversized for the neighborhood.
Right.
But
Well,
I'm not saying I'm totally opposed to it from that standpoint, but it is gonna overpower the neighborhood. It's a big,
Our neighborhood consists of 2 vacant lots, 1 rental house, and 3 homeowners,
Yeah.
and 1 trailer. This building is for our neighborhood community group to store product in. I'm sorry to say that we had a theft occur back in September and lost hundreds of dollars of money, which could have been converted to help the citizens of the neighborhood.
Was
And
this a commercial enterprise then?
no, this was a neighborhood beautification.
Okay, that's fine. It's still, even the point I'm bringing up is planning and zoning, it's not ours.
Well,
what it is.
we still have something to say about the streetscape and the size of things, and it states
Yeah.
in our book that if you
I know
want to
we
build a
do.
building that hides another historical building due to its shape and size, that we do have a say-so.
And the only thing this is going to hide is the ball field. If you drive down Washington Street and you look past, as you come gliding down that steep hill,
Right.
you're just going to see this beautiful building that looks like it used to be there.
Yeah.
I just think it's too big for the area, that's just...
Well,
See, as someone who drives by that at least 10 times a day, I'm not so sure that overpowering that area is a bad thing, right? If you look at what's back there now, it's very blighted, so it might be the catalyst for improvement. I mean, when you stand there and look at where he's talking about, you've got terrible looking, I don't play baseball, whatever that cinder block stuff is back there, it looks atrocious, needs to be painted or some TLC, and then you've got a whole bunch of backyards that, I mean, could use a little TLC, so I don't,
Well, when I stopped to look at it and it's staked off it, and you're kind of back there, because there's a hill that slopes this way and a hill that slopes this way. You honestly, I don't think you would see that much of it, especially coming down the hill.
Correct. And
So
it's-
I think option A is way better for the looks, as you're driving by for the streetscape. Option B,
Option B, I think, is the only one that's available.
but I think the size and where it is and what you want to do for A is, I guess the place, or, which one is the question. I think everything for A is fine, in my opinion. B, because of the placement, I have a problem with it. Because I think you'll see it from all streets. But A, I think is fine. And when I walked back there, I think it looked nice with all that stuff, and it would keep everything that he wants to do.
Well, it would keep my lawnmowers and equipment and log splitters out of the yard. I've unfortunately experienced several thefts over the past few months, not only for our community group, but personally. And it would be nice to have a lockable building to protect my personal assets, along with the assets of the community group that I started over a year ago.
let me ask you this, you don't actually access the building when looking at this drawing from what would be the north or the east side, correct? You access from the west side? Or
I would access from the east side.
from the east side?
I do have the ability to access from
From
the
3rd Street, from that side?
south side,
Who owns this property here?
west side.
Yeah.
So how can you access here? You come in from-
I don't know.
You'd actually come from, in other words, the east side of the drawing is showing that as being part of the ball field. So you mean the west side, right?
To
No, he
me,
mentioned that
to
he
me,
is
in my
right over
mind, the
there.
ball field is,
Oh, so you have right away through the ball field?
I'm sorry?
Do you have right-of-way through the ball field?
It's like right here.
Yes, I've leased a 50.
Okay, so you're going to come in from 3rd Street?
Correct.
Okay, all right.
And actually where the building would be, or the proposed building would be,
The only reason I'm asking that is, when this came up with the city redoing their maintenance building, if he was to supplement this with landscaping, would that possibly?
that's
Make it
something
more
I think I
palatable.
mentioned the first time I brought this up, and it was my intention to put some evergreen trees around it also. And it's going to be a sharp-looking building that I'm going to be very proud of, and maybe it would attract some tourists to come down my street. In the last few years that I've owned my home, I've only observed 2 tourists
Right.
on my street. And when I say my street, it's not my street, but
Right.
the street in which I reside.
We're talking about the B location now, possibly.
Correct.
Correct.
That particular sketch shows the building going over the property line.
Well, that's just, and it's not,
Just scale.
it's a scale, yeah. It's
Well,
just,
it's not, it's over the property line.
it just is, it might be a few feet off this way or the other. But
Yeah,
it
what is
will
the-
meet.
What is the setback in a?
It'll have to be a 5-foot.
Is that R2 also? or is
Yes,
that
it'll have to be a
R1?
5-foot setback,
Is that?
accessory building.
It's R2?
Yes.
5 foot is the setback?
Okay, on the setback. Frank's suggestion that landscaping would help a great deal. I go along with that. And you have made major improvements down there. Believe me, I'm appreciative of what you have done here.
Yes, and I have a close,
It's just that
I have a close friend and neighbor who is the organist for the church in town who has promised me several bushes, boxwoods,
Al,
well, yes, to put across the front of it, which would match the boxwoods in front of my house and the next door neighbor's house that our community action group just completed with the new siding. And
as I say, I have really mixed emotions because I know you've done good work in that area. It's just, to me, a big, big vinyl building.
it's not going to appear as
It's going to
vinyl.
overpower the neighborhood.
I've been in construction for 26 years.
Yeah, I've been in it for 50, so.
Okay, so you got me beat twice. In my heart, I feel like I'm not trying to build the Empire State Building in St. Genevieve. It's just, as Brenda Sloss expressed to me months ago, it just looks like a spot where an old barn might have sat. And I want it to look like an old barn.
If it was an old barn, it'd be all right, but this is gonna be very visible from as you come down 3rd Street, all the way along 3rd Street.
I mean, if he was to landscape the 2 sides, which he does not access, right? It looks like you have no access on the sides, just on the ends, correct?
Correct.
So you could basically visually block that. All you'd see is a building through trees. So all you would see is just the ends.
It's a big building.
Well, tell me the size of this room, Ed.
Well, that's not the idea. The idea is it's an historical area, and when you build a building bigger than anything in there, it's really gonna stick out. So if we could do a little roof work, maybe have the streetscape siding look a little bit older or something. But big is determined by what its surrounding is, you know what I mean? When you take, if you look at these tiles and you look at 60 feet by 40 feet, we're looking at someday that being a commercial building, if you own it or if you don't own it. And then we've allowed the building to be built, and for somebody to put enough stuff to fill a 40 by 60 building up, that's a bunch of stuff. George. And so we have to live with it once it's built. This is a baseball field here, and it's a pretty historical part of town, you know, and I just don't like the idea of the size of it. You know, it's not a utility shed. This is a working building, you know, and I think somebody that purchased the property, if they had in mind to build it a 40 by 60 building, they probably wouldn't have purchased this in the historical area. So, you know, I see your dilemma. I like the first proposal because it is hid, and we're trying to work for everybody. But this is, to me, this is sticking out like a sore thumb. And if you plant shrubs to hide it, it looks like you planted shrubs to hide it, to me. But that's just my opinion. I mean, I don't like the size. It's squeezed in there. Accessibility is tough.
Would define tough, like 50 feet, a 50-foot wide, that's wider than 3rd Street.
Well, do you have to get on a buyout property, right, to access it off 3rd Street?
That is incorrect.
Okay, so you're saying you can get on the ball field's property and access it?
Yes.
Well, that's...
Or I can
That is
actually...
leased by the city, so I don't know how long that would last.
Okay, well, or I can actually drive from my home on Washington Street through my property and access it.
Right.
Or I can drive through the only one other home I own in the city of St. Genevieve and access it.
Right, which is kind
through
of...
all my property.
I can see it. That, like I said, it's hard to
So I have
access.
three different options on how to access it.
I see
So
one
if it's some
clearly.
point in time in the future that the city or the VFW
Right.
decided not to renew my contract, as I think you experienced, you lost your contract.
So you have a
I still
contract
have,
with the VFW hall that crosses...
that is incorrect. I have a contract with the city of St.
A
Genevieve.
rental property that they rent from the VFW. It just looks like it's too big for the small town area. I know a man that built a shed up that right next to his home, and he had all kinds of trouble doing it, and now there seems to be no trouble. Mr. Allen had trouble building the size garage he wanted, and he had to come to Landmarks and had a lot of trouble. Now we're twice that size
And I'm not
in
here
a more
to,
visible area, and that's what we're worried about, is streetscape, you know what I mean?
You guys, one thing I'll just observe, the mobile home here in the foreground, that mobile home, it looks to be at least 60 feet long. So there's a 60-foot by 14-foot object now, right, on property
You
A.
could put 2 of those in that shed.
Well, no, it'd be that, just with additional 6 feet. In other words, this neighborhood does have some big, if you look at the roof line moving up to, I guess this is what, Fifth Street here? I'm not sure, what is that?
Yeah, this is 4th Street, that's 5th Street.
Right.
Academy.
Yeah, look at the roof line on that structure. That's way bigger than the entire lot. I'm just saying, myself personally, it doesn't bother me.
I'm not asking for any variances or anything that is not completely in the bylaws of the city ordinances. And I do thank the commission for all the compliments of how much I've improved the area in which I live. It's not my intention to create an eyesore or nuisance.
Any more discussion or motions?
You're calling for a motion?
If there's a motion.
I move to approve this application.
All right, we have a motion to approve, is there a second?
And
I'm sorry.
But I think circumstances as they are, I think the motion should say option A preferable and option B acceptable.
Okay.
I agree, I would much rather have option A. I'm just waiting for the family. It's in a trust, not a trust, it's in I'm not quite sure how to refer to it, but
With some bushes.
it's in the hands of the heirs, agents, and assignees of the former landowner. And yes, that would be my first choice also.
Okay.
So I'm in full agreement with you. I would love to have option A. But sometimes in life, there are no options, so
Right.
you got to go with plan B.
I was just reminded to add to the motion stipulation that landscaping be included.
Is that okay? Landscaping?
I'm the landscaping king of Washington,
problem.
so
Okay.
absolutely.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
We have a second by George. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed?
Opposed by Ed. Motion carries. So you're free to build a building.
Thank you so
Thank you
much
for
for
being
your
here.
time.
Thanks for everything you've done on Washington Street.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up, HPCA 13-0415A, which is a request from Audubon Redevelopment for changes to the C of A issued on April 15, 2013 for the rehabilitation of the building at 9 North Main Street, circa 1903. I can see we have Bob Bueller here to tell us about his plan.
Well, you know, as when you approved it originally, we talked about if we had any changes as we go forward to come back before the commission, and that's what we're doing. Since we're doing historic tax credits, both Fed and state here, we're learning, it's a learning process, and some things you think you can do, they say you can't. And one of the things they requested that we do is to remove the copper awnings and metal post on the 2 remaining doors that we have there.
I'm sorry, remind me, who was they?
They was the state and the federal approvals of our historic tax credit application, because they weren't of the historic character of the building in 1903. So we're just planning to take those off. As we had already taken one off by that one window, and we had shown you that before on the southeast corner.
We're going to take these one at a time?
Sure. Okay.
Move to approve that one.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and we have a second.
Who seconded that?
Frank Myers. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, and the second item, it was our intent to add sprinkler system to the entire building, all 3 floors. And when we came in for our initial application, we were going to add a step-style fire escape on the west side of the building between our building and Bill Nager's building. With the fact that we're sprinklered, we have 2 other exits to that upstairs. We'd like to not do that step style. We'll retain an existing ladder style fire escape that comes out of a door in the hallway upstairs.
To me, that's a matter for the building inspector and the fire department.
It's an exterior view.
And we've reviewed that, and it's,
What's that?
we've reviewed that with the architect, and since it's a sprinkler building and the other exits, it's acceptable.
It's a totally code issue.
So staying as it is.
Yes, in the back.
So we need a motion or not?
No. Well, you may
why don't we just go ahead and do the
for
motion?
the record,
Just to keep it correct.
Okay, I'll move that we approve
We have a motion from Frank. Is there a second?
I'll second.
George seconds. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Final item.
The reason I brought that up was because it was shown on the exterior
Yeah, I
view of the
appreciate
building.
that. There's no problem with that.
Okay. The last part is when we originally had a concept for the building, we thought we would put the handicap access in the front of the building at the main entrance. That would make traffic flow much better for our businesses. But when we started looking at that, to get the handicap ramp, we have about an 8-inch step there, which would take about an 8-foot ramp, which would take us out to the curb on the Main Street side. So what we'd like to do, the step is actually much shorter on the Merchant Street side. And what we'd like to do, and the sidewalk is much wider there, it's a 9-foot width at that point. And what we would like to, there's actually 2 things we need to do to that entrance. One, we want to increase the doors from 36 inches to 42 inches. That requires a change. We had, in the original proposal, we had the 2 doors and side lights, kind of like it exists now. When we put those 2 doors in, the wider doors, just can't, we won't have the side lights in there. Some might say, well, why don't you just move the doors closer to the middle? Well, there's a structural support wall in there that we can't just go right through the middle of that opening. So that's one change, is to go to just 42-inch wide doors, no side lights.
In addition to that, will you still have the entrance on Main Street?
Oh, yes, and it will still have the columns and the little porch as we described. It just won't be the handicap access.
Fine.
And the handicap, what we're proposing, since there's only a 4-inch step there, doing a 4-foot, a 1 for 12, or 12 for 1, I guess is the proper term, on the ramp. So that would extend 4 foot out from our current step. And there's actually, the sidewalk will be another 5 foot to the curb beyond that. And that is the regular size of the sidewalk, say, up the street by the post office.
Okay, this is where I am losing my bird's eye view issue. This comes straight out from the door. How do you flare that into the existing sidewalk so as to not make a footnote?
Well, we are, as you'll see on the last drawing, there are 2 planters, one on each side, that we would propose to put there.
Well, there you go.
There's currently an iron.
All into the planter.
Yeah, there's currently the iron post, and there's planters there that extend out 26 inches from the building. We would extend them out to 48 inches, so it's another 22 inches.
Yeah.
If you hear it, oh, that needle where you dropped your cigarettes.
Yeah.
It will be before you go in.
That's right.
Is there a motion on that?
I'll make a motion, we approve.
Motion approved by Frank, second by Jamie. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
We're all looking excitedly to when you open that up, so
Yes.
As we are also.
be among the first to eat there when you do. Now, folks, I would just throw out, since we're at 8:10, you want to, just those 2 items of old business, you want to just knock those out real fast? It's the endangerment list and then your old discussion, since that just happened.
Yeah, sure.
We'll just do that.
Be okay if we didn't have a ball game going on.
We can knock through these real. I mean, the first time was just the approval. I mean, Jenny's worked so hard on this endangered list. I hate to
Yeah.
roll it since she's put so much effort into it, so.
Are we rolling?
Sorry?
Are we rolling on that?
Well, just those 2 quick.
Right.
Yeah, if that's okay with everyone, that's not my, it's a democratic society, so if you all want to do that.
I'm hearing everyone saying yes.
Okay.
Well, on the historic properties, boy, it's a great list and well-researched. But I have to ask, is the Antoine O'Neill house really endangered?
It is in danger as far as nothing has been done to stabilize it yet, and construction has not started. Until a building has actually been stabilized and is being used again, it's in danger.
We're
Because
talking about the green tree? Am I wrong?
No,
Antoine.
Antoine O'Neill, that's wrong.
Oh, my gosh, okay, duh, yeah, right,
Yes.
right.
That's one very
Hello. Yes, no comment about that.
Just back up.
Yeah.
And the Senator Lynn house has been purchased?
That's correct.
Yes.
Yes, good.
Great, we love it. It's approved.
Can I make another comment? The Biquette Rabot house, I understand, has been sold, and
Really?
there's just one comment I'd like to make from a historic preservation perspective, which is why we're here. That house, some 11 or so years ago, the foundation sill component of that house was covered in 18 inches of mulch. And I think it'd be a good time to remind the new owner that that's really an erosion problem for the timbers. I mean, if you look under the gallery, you'll see this slope. It's almost a 45-degree angle of mulch that's burying those timbers, those vertical logs. And you get a lot of wicking into that timber. And I think it'd be important to remove that. That's just a suggestion.
And why was it placed there?
It was bad judgment.
Ignorance.
Yeah,
Just didn't know. They just didn't know what it was gonna do.
yeah.
Yeah,
They
all-
thought they were protecting the sill.
All but the center of the front.
Okay.
That's supposedly a Indian burial under there.
Well, that's a different story.
According to Dr. Thurman. Whether that's right or not.
Okay, I don't know that we're going to be quoting that source. So anyway, that's not an action item, but it's just something that if it comes up in conversation, it'd be a good time to mention it.
Yeah.
The previous owners were trying to protect the sill, and I think instead what they're doing is they're endangering the vertical logs. So,
Does anybody know the history of the placement of the building in the back that was being reconstructed, that was disassembled and reassembled?
I do.
Anybody know what?
The history of the building in the back that was being reassembled?
Yeah. It was, all parties are now deceased involved in that transaction. That was in an industrial part of town, and there was a building expansion plan, and it was in the way. So it was offered for $1 or cost to move it or what have you, and they looked for a place. It was actually on the South Gabourey Creek. Well, about like the Lomonier house, between, right around 10th Street. And so it was a gift, basically, to the owner of the Biquette Riveau house. They just had to have a place to put it. They didn't want to tear it down. So it was moved in the 80s.
Yeah. Yeah, Royce moved it.
Yeah, right. Royce Wilhuck, former owner of the Creole house.
There's still a French well over there that's historic.
Yeah, that's true.
A beautiful well. It was a nice house. It was a large house. They tore off everything but the original room of it. But Bob Rutler owned a factory at that time, and he wanted to expand the factory, so
Built it.
he offered the building to anyone who wanted it.
So who would have a list of the number of boards and where they're supposed to go? All the
It's not
lookers?
available.
Do what?
An inventory of the pieces.
The only thing that is there is what is standing. The
Yeah,
rest
they
of
did.
it is gone. And that's not the only building that is gone. There's another one down there in the weeds. The old, it was right on the grounds of the, next to the Knights of Columbus building. It's well documented, it's in the Habs drawings. But if you see this cabin in there, what was it Dauncey, or no, it wasn't Dauncey, it was a small one-room cabin, a vertical log. And it was carefully drawn up by the Habs when they were here, and you'll find it in there, in that inventory. But it's taken to the Wilhawks property also, and supposedly put in safe storage, but somehow it ended up out in the weeds.
So do we do a motion on the endangered list, or is it?
I would make a motion to adopt this as the priority historic preservation list.
We have a motion from Jan, is there a second?
I'll second it.
George seconds, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that's our new official endangered list for 2013.
Thank you to city staff for
Yeah,
that.
again, an excellent job by Brenda. And then I guess discussion of the 250th commemorative mural.
Well, I'd like to kick that conversation off by saying thank you to Commissioner Weiner for offering wall space on his building on Washington Street to recreate that mural. I think we got to try and form a committee to use it,
Yeah,
get some people to work on it.
artists.
And I think the artists group in town
The art
should be should be the core of the support for that thing.
Well, I think the next step has to be to talk to the parish, and they're in their conversations with the artist, getting that original photography, so we know what the colors should be.
I can contact the people in charge of the art guild. I mean, I'm not a part of it completely because I can't be there, but I do have a membership.
But the main thing is that, if they want it, we can't lose interest in it. It's got to be, somebody's got to pick
yeah.
up and
Well, they do,
support
and-
and go. It's not going to stay where it is. I mean, that's been debated and decided, but,
Certainly.
yeah. So it's,
The easiest way to do it, in my opinion, would be to have the original photo of it, back when it was in its heyday, have that put on vinyl, right, rather than try and paint it. And that way, as it wears out, you can replace it again. And I think you can do that for about 85 cents a square foot, roughly on vinyl.
Oh, like a
Just have it
billboard?
Mounted, just like a
Like a
billboard.
okay.
And then we have to have that mounted on your wall.
Oh.
That would work. If you
And
did
I
that
almost-
methodology, you could have it up in 30 days at a pretty low cost.
I almost think that that's the best way to do it because it won't look the same. Everybody has a different style.
Yeah.
I agree with
like
that.
idea.
Yeah.
I
And
agree
it's
about
not gonna look the same. Like every time that's been mentioned, I'm like, I don't wanna do that because it's never gonna look the same.
No,
Yeah, that's a
no,
really good
with
point.
different texture and everything, but once you take a picture and the texture, the brick feeling will be there to me.
Right.
So will we have to, you think they'd have to construct a backing
Well,
board?
the, I'm blanking on his name. I don't know if it's the dad of a girl in my daughter's class. Emmy Fisher's dad in Bloomsdale used to work at Drury, and he knows how to do all that stuff.
Right,
Sandra Cabot, I believe, has that.
Yeah, Senator,
Yes.
doesn't know, yeah.
yeah.
If we do that, I would suggest we think about using a matte material instead of gloss.
But the vinyl one comes in one.
Oh, no, it comes in dozens.
Well, the billboard one is never gloss. It's a
Oh.
matte.
It's a map?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Cool. Good discussion.
maybe the Valley Committee will help with that.
it's way outside my area of expertise.
I think it's a good idea to get a picture
It sounds
taken.
great.
We've already got, the artist is going to provide it.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Then
with
they-
the original, when it was
Just
new.
done, yeah.
So the colors will be right.
Excellent
I
idea.
think it's terrific. It really helped traffic on North Main Street.
Yeah.
too.
Yes.
Okay, I guess that'll wrap it up then for tonight. We'll move everything else to next time.
George.
Do we want to have a special meeting or a workshop for the committees?
It's up to you what you guys want to do.
Yeah, I mean, if, I need to be able to plan. I mean, if we're gonna do this new business and go over the committees.
Well.
Do we do it an hour before the meeting? Is that not enough time?
That works good for me.
Works for me.
Yeah, I'm usually sitting around an hour before the meeting, so it works good for me.
So November 18th at 6 o'clock for the work session?
Is that soon enough for everybody? Not just the folks here.
Martin, would you?
Yes. Okay.
And the work session is over,
The tabled items that were not covered tonight, the new business. Excuse me, the old business.
the old business, okay?
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.
thank you for watching Channel 798.
Thank you for watching Channel 7 and 98.
Hi, thank you very much for watching Channel 798.